Hi, welcome back. This is Dr. Matthew Loop. In this tutorial, I'd like to discuss the power of stories. This is something many first-time authors forget to include, which basically makes the book very boring. In fact, when I initially wrote Social Media Made Me Rich, this was a very tactical piece of work. And while it was good and it would still make people a lot of money that read it, it was just a little bit on the boring side because I didn't fuse as many stories as I should have in the book just to make it more engaging. So this is going to be one of the themes of this presentation is to fuse your stories plural. You want to have many stories in your book so that people can relate with you. Now, stories actually connect the world. They're sticky. You probably still remember the bedtime story your mom told to you when you were 5 years old, right? I can remember it very vividly. This is not by accident. This is how our brains are wired. Stories humanize us and bridge the gap between who the public thinks we are and who we really are. Stories shape how others see you as well. For example, if you are successful and you appear successful, somebody might just have the idea that you've always been successful, that you can't possibly relate to them and their situation and circumstance. Well, if you tell a story about when you were a child, you grew up in a lower middle class family, you had to struggle, you had to go through many obstacles and hardships, and specifically you did this, or whatever your story is. Well, that now makes other people able to believe you, like, wow. And they might say something like, this person is now like me, I can identify with this reader. Stories are journeys that move people into action. Now, studies show that we're wired to remember stories much more than data, figures, and facts. However, when data and story are used together, audiences are moved both emotionally and intellectually. Harnessing the power of stories will enable you to become more persuasive, move people to action, and create more income. Again, fuse many stories throughout your book. Tell your personal story. Maybe you overcame adversity from an early age and you triumphed, or you had a health condition that seemed like it couldn't be reversed, or no one gave you a chance. Maybe you were just so financially down in the dumps, you were homeless. Be relatable. If you have a tragedy to hardship story, that's fantastic. Talk about this in your book like I do. If you read the early chapters of Social Media Made Me Rich, you'll see my initial first story that allows the readers to identify with me, and it humanizes me so they know that I wasn't always at successful. Our past life experiences, whether they're good or bad, have shaped who we are today. Ask most people, they'll tell you life isn't all sunshine and roses. Everyone has setbacks and obstacles that they have to overcome on their journey. If you come across as empathetic, people will bond with you much faster because you appear more believable. I want you to really get specific and think about how you want to present your story. The more detailed and revealing you can be about the details, the more real you seem. And you might even initially be embarrassed to talk about these intimate life experiences. I know I personally was, but I assure you it's well worth it. And it's actually therapeutic to get them in the open to help inspire other people that are facing challenges. For the longest time for me, it was really hard to talk about the fact that I was $135,000 in debt. My credit cards were maxed due to poor choices. I was humiliated, being rejected by a bank teller for trying to cash a convenience check of all things. I was devastated when I had to accept a $2,000 check from my ex-girlfriend's father while sitting at Bahama Breeze. And it really sucked living in a tiny apartment, barely skating by week after week. I thought I didn't measure up because I came from a lower middle class family. I had no connections. I wasn't a member of the old boys club at all. Maybe you've seen this video that I created. You can convert your story or your stories into videos where you can drive traffic from your book to your blog, to your YouTube channel, or to a product or service that you've created. This story, I'm not going to actually play the entire video for you, but you can go ahead and check it out on my blog. After 25 years it happened, or just go to YouTube, and maybe you've seen this video already floating around Facebook if you followed my content for a while, but I detail where my family and I lived in this tiny duplex, and I'll show you this duplex right here. I opened this up with a quote that was very fitting for my situation. It's crazy when I remember this situation on, this duplex on 138 West 8th Street. Wow, that's crazy. It still blows my mind. But this allowed other people to connect with me and know my background. So I would encourage you in your book, get your story down on paper, first of all. I mean, my recommendation is to research the hero's journey, and you can format your story along those lines. But the bottom line is stories can act like rocket fuel and empower you to seize your dreams, or they can keep you from achieving greatness, and they can really be persuasive to the reader or the viewer. So understand that if you want to influence the most people, you have to learn how to weave stories throughout your content and not just have it be data driven or tactical. Go through Social Media Made Me Rich and look how I've weaved stories throughout each chapter. And go through your favorite nonfiction books to see how those authors did the same thing, so they could have other people, their readers, identify with them, and you get to know, like, and trust these authors much faster because they're just more believable. When you Google the hero's journey, this is what comes back. You can certainly go and research Wikipedia, or just go to images, and you can look at some very, very basic charts of the hero's journey where you've got this hero, call to adventure, there's a supernatural aid, threshold guardians. I mean, this is just an overview. You can get much more in depth, but you'll see a lot of Hollywood movies. In fact, Rocky, one of the biggest sagas of all time, has this in it. See how the characters are formed, see the highs and lows that they go through, and ultimately there's the atonement, the return, the redemption. It's very classic. So understand how that process works. Take some time to craft your personal story, and then see how you can weave other stories throughout your book. Now, these don't all have to be about you, by the way, but the more of your stories that you have that can relate to other people, doesn't matter what topic your book is, if it's health related, if it's business, then that's just a great thing, and it will allow others to bond with you faster. Let's say you're a doctor watching this right now. Maybe you have patients that you've seen with certain conditions or instances, or let's say you've helped people reverse disease doing certain things or diets. Well, you can tell specifically, if you have their permission right from the start, their case history, where they came from, how terrible they are, what their lab values were. And then you can show and feature this change, step by step, or provide the case study, the proof, and their testimonial. I mean, you can do all this stuff to really paint a very intimate picture. And by the time you're done, somebody reading that may have, let's say somebody is suffering from fibromyalgia or thyroid conditions, and somebody that you've helped, they read this story and like, wow, that person seems a lot like me, which makes the story, the book, you more believable. If you want to help as many people as possible and obviously make a lot of money in the meantime, you need to learn the art of the story. Many great resources online, but Joseph Campbell's The Hero's Journey, and you can even Google The Power of Story or story templates, if you will. So just an FYI, I wanted to put this video together with you to remind you to incorporate stories in your book. I'll see you on the next training.